What is up, everybody? We are back with our Week 5 preview. We're already starting Week 5. Can't believe it. The NFL season always flies by, it feels like. But Brian, how's it going? Did you enjoy last night's game? Kind of a little bit of a shocker for people. Chicago looking legit and kind of had that game the whole time. Got a little bit interesting, but they kind of put it away. So what did you think of last night's game? Is Justin Fields back? Did he turn a corner?
I don't know. It was really good to see him producing with his arm for sure.
Yeah.
Like he did look good. I'm surprised the Washington defense didn't do a little bit more. Like, I mean, they took Philly into overtime last week, so it was kind of like, oh yeah, they'll put up a good game. I think it was a big surprise, and obviously DJ Moore is the man. So
yeah.
I thought
I think someone tweeted. I think someone tweeted it was like in the second quarter that he had the third best receiving game of his career by the second quarter or something.
Yeah.
And then obviously he finished with the best. So that's 2 weeks now that Justin Fields has done it with his arm. 4 touchdowns each of the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He did have, I think, 40 or 50 yards rushing this game as well, though. So that's just kind of like total smash. 57 yards rushing, like, man, it's just crazy. Like, I think for Dynasty, and we're going to do some Dynasty videos and stuff like that, but it's like, I think after the first 3 weeks, I was like, is Anthony Richardson ahead of Justin Fields now? And then, like, 2 weeks later, it's like, oh, I don't know. I think Justin Fields is ahead of Anthony Richardson. It's just crazy how it shouldn't change that much, but it does. You know, we just love to overreact to week by week, even in Dynasty. So, yeah, he should have had. I mean, DJ Moore should have had a 4th touchdown.
It really does.
But yeah, it was a good game. Good for fantasy. I lucked out. I kind of like somehow didn't play any of the Bears guys, play against them, and then I started them in a couple leagues. So I got lucky there for sure.
You know what's kind of funny is I played against Curtis Samuel in a couple of leagues. And it was like, oh, that's like a free space. And it's like, dude, he got like 17 points. Like, it was like, holy shit. Like, yeah, you never know.
Yeah, he's been pretty good, Curtis Samuel. And that's what's kind of killing Jahan Dotson, unfortunately. Curtis Samuel, wide receiver 45 entering this week. So he'll probably jump up a good amount after his week 5 performance, but yeah, we're here kind of previewing all of the games. I think it's 13 games if I'm doing my math right. We have bye weeks that started. We have who is it? The Seahawks, Chargers, Browns, and one more. I think it's some decent teams on. Yeah, there's some decent teams on bye this week, so that kind of affects everything. Trying to quickly find it, but I can't. Oh, here we go. Chargers, Seahawks, Tampa Bay.
Duh. I'm literally wearing the hat.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of good fantasy players from all those teams. So even though it's just 4 teams, the bye weeks have come into effect. But anyways, in today's video, we're going to go over 5 games, just kind of talk about the fringe players, half PPR perspective, and we're just going to get right into it with the Jaguars at the Bills, the Sunday morning London game. And Jags are in London again. They just kind of stayed there, which is kind of weird. Like they put them in London back to back. That's kind of, I don't know, kind of strange. On the Jags side, definitely disappointing to start the year, I would say, for Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley, those 2 players. What are we doing with those 2 guys? We'll start with Trevor Lawrence. Brian, are you if you happen to pick up a CJ Stroud over the last week or 2, are you starting him over Trevor Lawrence, or are you just going to roll out Lawrence one more time and see how it goes?
I mean, it's definitely close, and I think people that have Trevor Lawrence should definitely be looking at the waiver. Like, I think like when we drafted Trevor Lawrence, like it was kind of like, oh yeah, like you should be good. You don't need to hold a second quarterback necessarily, but I mean, the streamers have really come through a lot more than Lawrence has. I'm probably still just rolling him out there. just in case. But you know what? Like Stroud, I would definitely consider him this week over Lawrence. I'm not playing like Daniel Jones or anything. Brock Purdy is kind of an interesting one. Like, I don't know what that game's going to look like. I'd probably still start Trevor Lawrence though over Brock.
Yeah. To me, it was really like Lawrence, like realistically, based on how people drafted Lawrence versus Howell, who already played, and Howell probably will have a better game than Lawrence if I had to guess, because he had a pretty good fantasy game. Howell, Stroud, and I guess maybe like a Jordan Love. Like, what about Jordan Love against the Raiders versus Lawrence against Buffalo? That's a tough one, I think.
Yeah. It is kind of tough, especially because like their games are so far apart. It's literally the Monday night game versus the Sunday morning game. So you won't even have an opportunity to like figure out like, oh, do I need to like kind of do I need something a little extra kind of a thing, you know? But I mean, Love's still been playing well, and I think he's going to continue doing that. He's got Aaron Jones should be healthier this week and everything, and Watson too. Maybe, I don't know. I think he has a questionable tag again. So that's kind of a tough one. I think I'll still start Lawrence though. I got to imagine the Jags are going to have to throw against Buffalo to keep up. So, yeah, I think I'll start Lawrence there.
Yeah, Bills are the second best against quarterbacks to start the year. They've only given up 7.8 points to quarterbacks on average. Now, they did play the Jets. They played Sam Howell and dominated them. They played Jimmy Garoppolo and played Tua. I mean, and they shut down Tua to a certain extent. So, I mean, yeah, I might lean Love just because of the matchups, to be honest. But it is kind of a coin flip. I'm not going to blame you if you want to go Lawrence. But yeah, it's just I thought last week they were going to bounce back. I felt like, all right, if this team's legit, if they are going to take that next step, like this is a game where they're just going to bounce back and look good. It started off well, and then they just, I don't know. There's just something not clicking there. And so that brings us to kind of Calvin Ridley. I still think he's kind of a must start, just given the nature of where you drafted him and his potential. I don't know if you have any arguments there. Like, are you even in a 2 wide receiver league, like, are you even thinking about benching Ridley?
Not really. It's funny because, like, I think we're gonna give him one more week. I know we're starting to get to the point where it's like we even kind of mentioned it last week, where it's like you got to forget where you drafted these guys and all that stuff. Like, the weird thing about last week was he only had 2 targets. You know, like. It was just kind of a weird game. I watched like the Toy Story version of it, and I mean, we could talk about that later, I guess. I don't know. That was not. I definitely prefer Slime Time on Nickelodeon over the Toy Story version. But I mean, he saved his day with that touchdown. You know, he still only got about 11 half PPR points, so it was kind of like, like it's worrisome, you know. But I think you're still rolling him out there for one more week unless you have a good pivot option. Yeah,
I did read a lot of people saying like, "Oh, this Toy Story thing, what the hell?" And then other people were saying, "Well, it's for kids. Like, you're an adult watching it, so I don't know."
I wasn't judging it in that sense where it's like, "Oh, like why is this?" It was kind of funny because my 9-year-old came downstairs while I was watching the game. And she was like, "What is going on?" And I was like, "Yeah, like it's Toy Story football." And like she like jumped under the blanket with me and started watching it. And then she just started talking smack about it. Like she was like pointing out like all the glitching and everything. She's like, "Where's that guy's leg?" And like, "Why did the football do that?" and stuff. And she was just kind of making fun of it. So it was kind of funny. Like she might be a little too old for it too, but I don't know.
Yeah, they're trying.
Yeah. Something different. It's fine. Grab more audience, you know.
Yeah, I mentioned it about Ridley on the recap show of like people were saying like, you know, Falcons have a really good cornerback in AJ Terrell and he was shadowing him and all this. And then I'm kind of like, there's a lot of teams in the NFL that have a player, that have at least one player like that can shadow and potentially shut down it. So like it's just worrisome to like how many, oh well, this team has this cornerback, like
Yeah,
It just
you
gets to the
can't keep
point where it's
making
like,
excuses.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, 2 targets is just not what it should be. They need to kind of figure out how to get him open more. So,
Not
but
when
yeah,
not when Kirk
ahead.
has 12, you know,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
not saying anything bad about Kirk. Like he's obviously a must start at this point, you know, like he's kind of become the man.
yeah.
I feel like so.
Yeah, I agree. I think we need to start Christian Kirk. It will
Yeah,
be interesting, and I'm just double checking about Zay Jones.
he still got a
Um,
questionable tag as of an hour ago
mhm,
from Roto Baller. So,
okay,
um,
I wonder
yeah,
if he even went to London last week. Um,
I don't know.
he limited in limited in all 3 game practices. Sorry, does that affect you with Kirk, or are you just gonna kind of like, nah? I've seen 3 good weeks now from Christian Kirk. Gotta rule him out there until you see something different
It
for the
is a
most part.
little. It's a little concerning. You might have to temper expectations, but there's no way you're benching Kirk if Zay Jones plays. You know, like in
Mhm,
week one when Jones played 90% of the snaps, you know, like Kirk wasn't on the field as much, and that was a
mhm.
little worrisome. And we kind of saw that in the preseason too. But I don't know. You're not getting away from Christian Kirk this week, no matter what. Like you need to roll those dice like in
Yeah,
in Kirk's favor. I think.
yeah, just the volume's just been too crazy.
Yeah.
Like that's more than it's not fluky. Oh, he had 2 touchdowns, but 4 targets. It's like now he had 12 targets. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, and then ETN and Evan Ingram are
Yeah.
starts.
You've got him.
The ETN usage is really really good right now, so you got to roll with that and hope he hits. On the Bill side, super easy. Like you're starting Allen, Diggs, and James Cook. I guess Gabe Davis we can have a talk about, but I feel like he's almost like locked in as a starter at this point too. 3 wide receivers for sure. Um, 2 wide receivers, like you're just getting what you kind of expected from Gabe Davis. Just like he's getting his 4 or 5 targets and he's catching touchdowns. And this should be, we hope it's a pretty good. I didn't mention the over under. It's 48.5. So it should be a high scoring game theoretically. Anything you want to say about Gabe Davis? Like if you have a choice between him and like Christian Watson or him and Adam Thielen.
Thielen would be an interesting one. But I think we've said the same thing about Gabe Davis the last 3 weeks, kind of a thing. You know what he is? He's that guy. He's not going to be heavily targeted, but he can always take one to the house. I mean, he's got a touchdown in each of his last 3 games, so I think you know what you got with Gabe Davis and what your roster looks like. I think he's becoming an easier decision to make, but I think it's kind of one of those personalized ones depending on your roster build and like what you got, and especially with bye weeks and everything. I think most people are going to be starting him. Like,
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. What about like Gabe Davis and Cortland Sutton against the Jets?
yeah, I mean that kind of like again, like I think that's like a roster build thing. I think Sutton is probably the easier like to kind of like justify, especially in like PPR leagues and stuff.
Mhm.
But it just kind of depends on what you need. Who you're going at. Like if you played against DJ Moore already, it's like, yeah, you're probably firing up Gabe Davis to try and recoup some of those points.
Yeah, good upside.
Yeah.
Upside player. Yeah. Are we past Austin Knox yet? Dalton Kincaid. Are we done trying to justify starting him? Or I've been out since week 2, but after week 2, but I don't know. Are you still? You personally want to start him or?
I don't really want to. It's funny because even after all the stuff that we talked last week and I picked up Noah Fant during the podcast, I didn't even end up starting him. I started Dalton Kincaid like over him. And it was a PPR league, so he didn't kill me, but he definitely didn't help. But yeah, go ahead and you can pass on him. He's streamer at best.
Yeah. I would even drop him. I know people are saying like, oh, he could come on later in the year, and it's possible, but I don't want to hold two tight ends. So
No,
um,
yeah, you're not holding two for him. Like
yeah,
he no one else is gonna pick him up, kind of a thing, until he has that big game, and then I don't know. Yeah, the shiny I don't even know how to say what I'm trying to say. He's not the shiny new toy anymore. Now he's
mhm.
he's just you know a toy.
Just
He's
yeah,
something about Toy Story. I don't know. My brain's still not firing on all cylinders here.
yeah. Well, we'll move on to the next game. We have the Texans at the Falcons. Yeah, Texans have been really, really surprising. They've blown out their last two opponents, opponents that people thought were pretty good teams in the Jags and Steelers, I would think. So, um, yeah, we talked about Stroud a little bit. Like, you're obviously not starting him over the big names that you should know, but like, I would think about starting him over Lawrence. What about Stroud and Jordan Love? Who are you choosing there?
I like Stroud there, honestly. I think that's like kind of a good benchmark for sure, but like he needs to be rostered in most leagues for sure.
Mhm.
Stroud, that is. Yeah, he's just been lighting it up, dude. Like he's really like yeah, that team is way, like you said, it's way better than we thought it was going to be, and they are. I think they're actually getting healthier on the offensive line too, which is kind of crazy because like they've had big issues on the line as far as injuries, and they're still playing really well. So imagine if they can even give him more time. It's like, what's this guy gonna do? Like, yeah, I'm
Mhm.
excited about Stroud. I really like him. I definitely picked him up in a few leagues.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, and especially we talked about Geno Smith, Justin Herbert, and Deshaun Watson on bye. Like he's basically a starter at this point, unless you
Oh
have
yeah,
again one of the studs. But yeah, I mean we're definitely starting him over Burrow, over
yep,
Daniel Jones,
yep.
um, Stafford, Brock Purdy. Yeah, I think the only really question to me is within the top 12, and we're using Fantasy Pros if you want to look at that half PPR rankings. But yeah, the only questions are Love and Howell. Howell's already gone, but so like it's like Jordan Love versus Stroud. So if those are
Yeah,
your two options, and yeah, I would go Stroud as well. Um, in the running back department, I mean Damian Pierce. Yeah, I mean, it was nice to see him. They like fed him the ball. I think he had like 24 carries or something. I think this is a good game script for Damian Pierce. A game, either a close game or a game where they should be winning comfortably. I don't see the Falcons blowing them out. So with all the bye weeks and stuff, is Damian Pierce kind of like he's kind of locked in as a starter in your opinion?
yeah. Easy must start. Any running back that's getting 15 plus opportunities a week and is involved like even a little bit, which he is in the passing game, like you got to fire him up. That the offense is looking really good. Atlanta's not one to be afraid of. So yeah, you're firing up Damian Pierce.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, there's not unless you're stacked and you can leave that specific question in the chat. We'll get to you. But what about the receivers? I mean, obviously, Nico's you have to start him. Two of his last 3 weeks, he's had 150 yards or more. Like I never expected this from Nico Collins, like this level of type of production. So he's a must start. Tank Dell, do you want to avoid if possible? He's kind of a fringe starter in my opinion. So we can go through some players here like Tank Dell versus Jacoby Myers. If Garoppolo's back, who are you starting there?
Yeah, you probably won't know the answer to that, maybe, because Garoppolo plays Monday night.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think I'd like Jacoby there. As far as like just like in a vacuum, Tank Dell, like I don't know, like we definitely talked about like kind of like the seesaw effect of
Mhm.
like which Houston receiver do you start this week, kind of, and like you said, like Nico has definitely become must start, and I think Tank Dell, like he's kind of you could definitely throw him in the lineup. And not really worry about it too much. I mean, you're gonna worry about it, but he's your number three or flex guy.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, apparently, he's Tank Dell that is ranks pretty well against, and this according to PFF, ranks pretty well against man coverage. And the Falcons are 9th. They run man coverage 9th most. Now, when people say that, I think they never explain what that means. They're still only running man coverage less than 30% of the time. That's 9th most. So it's very, the NFL football in general is very zone heavy. Like you're still running it over 2/3 of the time and stuff. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, I guess Tank Dell is pretty good against man coverage. So yeah, I don't know, like Tank Dell versus, so we said, I think I would, what about Zay Flowers, who's still ranked very high, and he kind of really hasn't performed since week 1 in terms of fantasy production.
Yeah, I think, I don't know what the status of OBJ and Bateman are, but I guess we'll get to them when we get there. But I'd still rather have the number 1 receiver on most teams over Tank Dell. And I'm just kind of assuming Zay Flowers is the number 1 guy. I don't know. Do you know what's going on with the Ravens guys?
Yeah, it looks like Bateman's going to play his full practice last 2 days, Wednesday and Thursday. And then Beckham's limited. So we haven't got Friday in for them yet.
All right,
so
I'd start.
Good chance that both of them's back.
I'd start Tank Dell then in that situation because Mark Andrews is obviously still there.
Yeah, he's kind of like in 2 wide receiver leagues. I think you can have a conversation. 3 wide receiver leagues, I think Tank Dell's basically a starter at this point until you get another bad performance. Then we can start kind of thinking about it a little bit more. But we just saw him play well. Go ahead.
The guys around him on Fantasy Pros, a lot of them I would start. Like I'd start Tank Dell over Christian Watson this week because, again, he's still got that questionable tag. I'm sure it's mostly just a rest sort of situation. But I mean, the season's starting to get away from him. He's not building that chemistry with his young quarterback. So we're gonna have to see about that in general, but I'm starting Hopkins over him. I'm starting Christian Kirk, Jacoby Myers, Adam Thielen, Cortland Sutton, Romeo Doubs. I'm starting over him, and probably Jordan Addison too. And that's kind of around where the list ends. The next guy on the list is Tutu Atwell, and it's like, well, it sounds like Kupp's going to play this week, so I might hold him out just to see what's going on.
Yeah. Yep. But if Kupp doesn't play for whatever reason, I think I would lean Tutu.
Oh, definitely. If Kupp doesn't play.
Yeah. But yeah, and then any interest in Dalton Schultz? I don't think so.
No.
I hope not. Falcons again. Bijan's a starter. I'm not starting Jonnu Smith. I just refuse to. I refuse to start the second tight end, even though he's playing better. I just don't. I think you can have the floor fall out from you. Kyle Pitts, we're still where we are last week. If you are holding 2 tight ends and you have you had a Cole Kmet or a Tyler Higbee or Zach Ertz or Ferguson or Hunter Henry, start him over Kyle Pitts. But if you don't want to hold 2 tight ends, just keep rolling Kyle Pitts out there, I guess. No,
honestly, drop Kyle Pitts and pick up Jonnu Smith at this point. Seriously,
I don't know if I'd do that. I would try and find someone else.
Yeah, probably. That's probably the better advice, honestly.
But to your point, Jonnu's a top 12 fucking tight end. He's tight end 10. So, and he had a goose egg in week 1, and he's tight end 10. So, yeah, to your point, I just personally can't do it. But, at least drop him. If you want to start Jonnu over Kyle, okay. It's tough for me to drop Kyle Pitts over for Jonnu Smith right now, but
I think you just gotta rip the Band-Aid off, man. We're just gonna keep doing this every week, just like we did last year, and it's just the only reason we even talk about Kyle Pitts still is because he's a tight end. If he was a receiver, we would have dropped him. I don't even know where he would have got drafted this year. He would have been a double-digit round draft wide receiver based on performance last year. So I don't know, man. I need to see it.
That's the thing. It's not killing you, because it's a tight end. Okay, Kyle Pitts had 3.1 points last week, Evan Ingram, who's tight end 7, he had 9.4. So, like, yeah, you'd love the extra 6 points there, but is it killing you? Maybe you lost by less than 6 points. Who knows? But that is a pretty big number. But it's like it's not killing you. That's where I'm just like hesitant to like. I still think he can, and I just think about Taylor Heineke taking over, like, and that was kind of one of the questions I wanted to get to. Like, are we going to see Taylor Heineke potentially in this game? Like, do you think it's going to happen? I think it's in this game, or if he doesn't look good, I think Heineke comes in, and that could do well. That could mean well for Kyle Pitts. I don't know. That's why I just don't want to drop him yet for a guy like Jonnu.
Yeah. I could see that. But yeah, again, the only reason we even talk about him still is because of the position that he plays and the talent, obviously. Like we know what he could be, but man, it's just so tough.
Yeah, and
Desmond
then same with Drake.
So bad.
Yeah, he is. Same with Drake London. What are you doing with Drake London? Like, he had 3 catches, 28 yards. He did catch a touchdown. Like, are you just starting him hoping you get a touchdown? Like, we've had 3 of his 4 weeks where he's had 31 or less receiving yards. And even that other week that I didn't mention, it was 67. So it's not like he went off. He's had 2 touchdowns, which have saved a couple of his weeks. But, like, I'm benching Drake London. Another note just to add to that is the Texans play heavy, obviously one of the most heaviest zone coverage teams. And apparently Drake London's not very good against zone coverage. He's more, it makes sense for the type of player he is, a big, strong guy that can leap up over you and outpower you. That's better against the man coverage versus the zone. So, like, I don't know. I just not even taking that into account. I think I'm just benching Drake London. I don't know if you feel the same.
I think it's kind of hard to do in 3 receiver leagues, just because he is the number 1 guy on the team. That's not really saying that much because we know what the targets from Ritter looks like. So I don't know. I think I'm still rolling him out there. Like I mean, there's some obvious guys that have like better appeal. But I don't know, man. Like, I feel like I'm still starting London just because, I mean, he's on the field all the time and he's getting targeted. So it's like, when's he gonna like get it done, But like, like kind of like what you mentioned, even that 67-yard game, that was 8 targets, 6 catches, and a touchdown. And it's like, that was his best game on the year, and he didn't even sniff 20 points. So
yeah.
It is tough. It is tough, but you're not starting him with wide receiver 2 expectations, I don't think. So,
no. And like I said, there's a lot of guys I'd be starting over him. Like, where he is on Fantasy Pros, like, I'm fine. Like, I would have started him over Jahan Dotson.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's sailed. But, like, everyone else ahead of him, I think I'm starting. Like, Michael Thomas, Jordan Addison, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Romeo Dot, all these guys I'm starting over him. So
yeah, it's fair. I think he is kind of right where he needs to be, which is 37th with Dotson right in front of him. So we'll call it 36.
Yeah. So that's where we're at with London. Bijan's obviously a start. But yeah, we can move on from this game and get into the Panthers at the Lions. I haven't been saying the over-unders, but the over-under here is 44, and Lions are favored by 10. I don't know the last time I've ever seen the Lions favored by 10. Maybe my first time ever. That's kind of crazy. Panthers side of the ball, it looks like Miles Sanders is healthy. Is he a must-start to you, or are you wanting to get off of him? What are you doing with Miles Sanders? Just checking the injury report here. But I think I read that he was off the injury report. Yeah, he was full practice today. Yeah.
Yep, full practice today. I don't know. Like that groin injury is still like kind of concerning. It's hard to get away from him in most leagues, I think. But I mean, I'd like to bench him if possible. The matchup is very far from ideal, but I think maybe he could be, like we kind of talked about. I don't remember if we talked about him specifically, but I feel like he is a little game script proof, like because he is very involved in the passing game. So I think you're firing him up. I don't know how you're getting away from him. Like, you must have like the best team ever if you can bench Miles Sanders. I'm not excited about it. Like, he's almost kind of like, yeah, I kind of have to do it. He's literally he's RB 24 on the year so far. But like I said, the targets is what makes him like really exciting. You know, like this is week 1 through 4 targets 6, 5, 9, 3. So it's like, well, yeah, like you have to start him.
Would you start him over Jahmyr Gibbs? In half PPR?
Yeah, you know what? I probably would. Like at this point, you know, I definitely think Gibbs is on the better offense and everything and has less of a concern. I can totally see this being like a David Montgomery game, like for sure.
No, this is perfect David Montgomery game. Like they're not going to be trailing and, you know, playing catch up and stuff. So I would start Sanders over Gibbs. What about Gus Edwards, Najee Harris, and Jonathan Taylor, who maybe he's coming back? Would you start Sanders over those 3 guys?
I would over Taylor. I just want to see it for a week. Like, you could miss out on a big one, but it is Tennessee he's playing against. We don't know what the snap share between him and Zach Moss is gonna be. Like I don't see Moss just completely going away, especially in this first week. Like, they got to work him back in. Like, they don't want him to just get hurt again, you know. So I'm starting him over Taylor. Who were the other guys you asked?
Gus Edwards.
I'm starting Gus Edwards.
I'm starting Miles Sanders.
Yeah, I think I got to start Miles Sanders. It's funny because like Gus actually had 3 targets last week, and it's like, oh my god, is he going to be involved? What's that?
15 carries and 3 targets. It was his first catch since 2020.
He did catch 2. He caught 2 balls for 1 yard. That's such a Gus Edwards like stat line right there, you know. But I'll start Miles Sanders.
Yeah, Justice Hill didn't play much, so I'm kind of avoiding Gus Edwards. What about Najee? Last one before we move on.
No, Miles Sanders.
Okay. Thielen, is he a must start? Like,
yes.
Yeah, I think he is. Yeah. And
I think
no one else really.
Yeah.
I think he is too. In 3 wide receiver leagues, 2 wide receiver leagues, we can talk. Like, I'd probably still lean like a Gabe Davis over Thielen and maybe a Jacoby Myers if Garoppolo's back. But no, actually, I think I would go Thielen.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go Thielen too, because like the game script that we're thinking of, it's like, Detroit. I mean, Vegas even called it. You know, Detroit's going to win by 10. It's like they're going to have to be playing catch up with points, or you know, with trying to like throw to keep up. So I think Thielen's a must start this week for sure.
What about Thielen? Did we say Thielen versus Tank Dell?
Oh, easily Thielen.
Okay. Yeah, I think he's basically a must start. No one else. I'm not buying into Terrace Marshall having his best game ever or whatever. And I've already moved on from Hayden Hurst, so we can move on to the Lions. Amon-Ra St. Brown hasn't practiced. He just came in an hour ago. He didn't practice today either, Friday. Obviously, if he starts, you're playing him. Even like, I know there's the injury concern. He did kind of play a decoy role last year in the game, but I don't know. Are you just gonna bench him, or are you gonna start him if he's playing?
Oh no, you're starting him. He was on the injury report last week, I thought too, and he ended up playing just fine. You know, he still played 88% of the snaps. 7 targets. Caught a touchdown. It's like, there's no way you're getting away from him if he's playing. Like, even if they say like snap share or snap count or whatever, you're firing him up. Like, what's going to happen? Like, Jamison Williams in his like first game back is going to just like dominate or something? I just don't see it. You have to start him.
Yeah, I think the difference though this time is I think it's another injury on top of what he had last week. And I think last week he did practice, like at least in a limited role, maybe full practice. I don't know. I guess I can check right here.
I don't know what the injury was last week.
Last week it was his toe.
Okay, that's right.
He wasn't even on the injury report, at least the final one. I don't know. I am a little worried, but if he's going to start, I'm going to play him. I think Jared Goff is probably a must start here, unless you have one of like I'm starting obviously Mahomes, Allen, Hurts, Lamar, Tua, A-Rich, Cousins. I would have started Fields over Goff.
I'd start Stroud over him.
Yeah, I guess.
I just don't think that Detroit's going to have to. It's always funny because, Detroit's projected by 10 to win by 10. And it's kind of like, well, that means the quarterback won't have to do much to win the game. And it's like, well, they still have to score points, and that will go through Jared Goff to some extent. But I'm just really predicting another big game from Montgomery, kind of like what we said already.
Yeah, I'm still probably going to go Goff over Stroud just for the safety aspect, I guess, a little bit of it. I don't know. I think, especially the matchup, I don't think Carolina is that good of a defense either. So, but everyone else, I would start Goff over Lawrence. I would start Goff over Love. Montgomery's obviously a must start. Josh Reynolds, I think, is interesting if St. Brown is out. I know when I started him, he had a goose egg, but I'd start Josh Reynolds over if St. Brown's out. I would start him over a 2-2. I would think about starting him over Jerry Jeudy even, and potentially even a Courtland Sutton. Just because it's who's going to catch passes for that team, if St. Brown's not there. Yeah. I don't know how you're feeling with Reynolds if St. Brown's out.
Honestly, I don't really think about Josh Reynolds too much. Maybe if St. Brown's out, he becomes kind of interesting, but for the most part, I think I'm just staying away. He is playing 70 plus snap share in every game this year so far, but he's definitely in the conversation, but I don't feel that strongly about him for sure.
Yeah, I get it, but also it's kind of crazy because it's if you do take out that week 3 game where he had the goose egg, and I know you can't take it out, he was out there, he's top 12 in points per game. Fantasy Pros actually takes that game out because he didn't have a target, I don't think. And he averages 13.2 points a game. He's averaging more than, Devontae Smith and Deebo Samuel and CeeDee Lamb and Marquise Brown and Tank Dell. You know what I mean? It's kind of crazy that we just Josh Reynolds, and say, I don't know. Especially if there's no St. Brown, I feel like who's going to catch? Are they just not going to throw the ball? They're still going to throw the ball 25, 30 times. Who's that going to go to? Laporta, all of it? I don't know. I would have Josh Reynolds as a flex, especially in a 3 wide receiver league.
Yeah, I can see it. I won't argue that.
If St. Brown's out, Laporta's a start, and then Gibbs just comes down to Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't think it's the game for him. What are you doing? Gus Edwards versus Jahmyr Gibbs?
Oh, yeah, that's a little tough. I think you got to start Gus Edwards in that case, honestly. Maybe full PPR, you could definitely make the case for Gibbs, but anything less, I don't know. I think he's starting up Gus Edwards.
We just talked about if St. Brown's not there, maybe Gibbs is one of those players that gets more. So I'd probably still lean Gibbs over Edwards just for the upside. Gus Edwards needs a touchdown or 2 to be relevant, in my opinion. And I think Justice Hill could take a little bit more from Gus Edwards. What about Gibbs versus Jonathan Taylor?
That's kind of an interesting one. I'll start Gibbs there. The matchup, we don't know what the snap share is going to be. First game back from injury and stuff like that, and so I'll wait a week to see it from Jonathan Taylor, especially given the matchup.
Yeah, Gibbs or I'm just looking at the list. It really falls off after Najee, Jonathan Taylor, Jalen Warren, Algier, Jaleel McLaughlin, really falls off. So obviously starting Gibbs over all those guys. He's almost a must start.
If Javonte doesn't play, I think I'll start Jaleel.
That's fair. But I do think he was off the injury report, which is kind of surprising, to be honest. I heard rumors he was going to miss till week 7 or something. He was limited. I did read he was back to practice, so he was limited. Yeah, if Javonte doesn't play, I'll start Jaleel over Gibbs. I think Jaleel's a good player. But yeah, we mentioned Laporta. You're starting him there. So yeah, we'll get on to. I threw this game in here because I thought it was going to be super easy. The Giants at the Dolphins, over under 47.5. Dolphins are 12.5 favorites. I'm trying to avoid Daniel Jones as much as possible. What was it? He had like 20 completions and like 50 yards rushing, and he only scored like 4 points or something.
Yeah, I know, man. It's so funny. My wife. It's funny. I'm calling her my wife because I don't want to just say Bree. Like, you obviously know her name, but like, the audience doesn't. But yeah, my wife, she felt so bad for Daniel Jones last week. Like, all like the shots of him like looking like he was gonna cry on the bench and everything. And it's like, man, I might have to get you a Daniel Jones like jersey or something like that. She just kept talking about it. Like, she actually texted me Tuesday, like after the game, like while I'm at work. She's like, I just feel really bad for him still. Like, yeah, well, I'm not starting Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I feel bad in the sense like I blame 65% on that on like the offensive line. Like, the dude was just like had no time. Like,
I know.
Lot. Like, he was just. But then you can tell Bree, like, he signed a 4-year, $160 million contract. So and a lot of that was, I think, like $80 million of that was guaranteed. So it makes you. I do get it though. Like, I do kind of feel. I felt that way with like Justin Fields. I think I was just like, man, like, kind of sucks. Like, you just. I don't know. Like, I was like, come on, man, you can do better. Like, a couple weeks ago, like, you can do it. Like, feeling bad for millionaires is always kind of funny. But
yeah. Well,
yeah. What about
everything? But
no, I know.
Yeah.
What about Burrow or Daniel Jones?
Oh God. I think I would actually start Daniel Jones in that case. Like, shit, I'm definitely looking at the waiver wire if those are my two options.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think I would go Daniel Jones there and just hope it's garbage time or something. Saquon,
at least he can run. Burrow can't even like move.
Yeah, that's true. Saquon, I'm starting if he's in there. No questions.
Oh, yeah. I honestly, I think that Matt Breida didn't look too bad last week, too. Like, I thought he actually looked like the best player on the team, basically. So,
yeah. Darren Waller, like, again, I probably haven't, if I have him, I probably haven't picked up a second tight end. Like, that's just how I play. But if you did, like, I'm still probably going to start him over most people. Like, I'm still going to start him over, like, Jake Ferguson, Higby, Ertz, Kincaid, Henry. Like, these guys that maybe you picked up off the waiver wire. I think I'm still going to just go with Darren Waller and just hope they kind of correct themselves and get him the ball.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Like, he plays too many snaps. Like, he looks like they definitely need to get him more involved.
Yes.
But, I mean, like we said, there's just no time for Daniel Jones to throw. Yeah. So, yeah, it's tough. But, yeah, you're starting Waller. You're not excited, but he can still be tight end 5 on the week easily. Easily.
So, and again, you drafted him for the fact that you didn't. One of the reasons is, like, I don't have to worry about tight end this year, And he's still tight end 13 on the year, amazingly. Like, that just shows you how bad tight ends are. So, and then no receiver. I would just say keep an eye on Wando still if he's out in the waiver wire and you have a spot. I would pick him up, like 6 targets in like really his first game back with a large snap percentage. So I think they get him out there more. And Daniel Jones loves his slot receiver. I'm not starting him, but I would add him unless I really, really have to. And then the Dolphins are super easy. Like, I'm starting all of them.
Yeah, start them all.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Mostert yet. I'm still throwing him out there. Like, he had a bad week 1, and then he went off. So, yeah, he's out. They're all out there.
Yeah, for sure. Do we have, just real quick, have we heard anything about Jeff Wilson at all? Like, I know he's not coming back this week or anything, but this would be the week where he could be designated to come back, and I just haven't heard anything yet.
Last thing I heard is just he's not ready to practice.
Yeah, so, that's yeah, okay.
And when it first happened, I think Mike McDaniel was like, we hope to see him back. It was like the hope to see him back this year type of thing.
Yeah,
like,
I remember that.
And then his agent was the one that said he'll be back week 5. So it's like, well, it's his agent, like,
yeah, he's supposed to say that.
Yeah. So I don't know. If you have IR spots, I have him in league, throw him on IR. Who knows? Like, what if Mostert and Achane get hurt and then Jeff Wilson's coming back? But I'm not expecting. I'll probably be dropping him like when he's ready to come back, assuming these guys are healthy.
Yeah.
But yeah, on to the Sunday night game. The Cowboys at the 49ers. I think these two teams are also pretty easy. I guess Dak is the big question here for the Cowboys. Like, where are you at with Dak against the 49ers? Man, like, would you start Daniel Jones or Dak Prescott?
Dak. Did you get that? Oh.
Yeah, no, I heard
start
you.
Dak. Yeah, you're just thinking about it.
Yeah, this offense is so weird. Like, they just don't. They're like afraid of Dak kind of like turning the ball over, and they just don't want him to do anything besides like manage the game. Like, they've turned him into like this game, and that's what he was before Kellen Moore took over as the offensive coordinator, who's now the offensive coordinator of the Chargers. Like, he was kind of just like that game manager, 3,500 yard, 22 touchdown guy. And then Kellen Moore came and turned him into a 5,000 yard, 35 touchdown guy. And now they seem to go back to that. So yeah, I'd probably go Dak for the little bit of a safety floor, but I could see Daniel Jones outscoring him pretty easily.
Yeah, definitely. I think the Niners are going to put up some points, and they're going to have to try and keep up the best way they can. So, I feel decently okay about Dak. I don't mind like streamers over him. Like, I actually have to decide between Stroud and Dak in one of my leagues, and I think I'm leaning Stroud there.
Yeah. So I'm gonna start at Jared Goff. And you just tell me who you would start Dak over. So Jared, because all the other guys you would start over Dak. Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence, Jordan Love, CJ Stroud, Joe Burrow. I think you have to start Dak, right?
Yeah, easy.
Yeah. Daniel Jones, we said. Stafford?
I'll start Dak. Wait, who are the Rams playing?
Eagles.
No, I'll start Stafford.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like, he's like top 5 in like passing yards, but he only has like 4 touchdowns. It's like, throw more damn touchdowns.
Yeah,
what about Brock Purdy? Same game. Oh, go ahead. You're gonna say something on.
I was just gonna say, especially if Cup's back, he needs Cup. He hasn't had breakfast in 5 weeks. He doesn't have anything to eat with. So,
Brock Purdy, same game. I think I'm going Purdy.
I will start Brock.
Yeah. Just better weapons, I think I'm starting Purdy as well. Russell Wilson versus the Jets.
Wow, I'll start Russ.
Yeah. So,
as we talk about this stuff, you start really figuring out like what you feel about it. You can kind of have it in your head, like, there's no way I'm starting Russell Wilson. But it's like, I think I would. I definitely would.
Although that Jets matchup, they made Mahomes not look like Mahomes last week. So
I know that defense is for real.
It is good. Dad doesn't think so, but
I know I don't get it, but everyone can have their own opinion.
Yeah, and I mean they made look at Josh Allen, who's looked like a superstar all year, except when he played the Jets. It was week 1, so maybe that has something to do with it. But maybe it was just the Jets are good.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. They're ranked 11th best against quarterbacks. I'm just trying to think who had a decent game against them. I'm just kind of looking up real quick because I know they played Mac Jones, Josh Allen. I guess maybe Dak had a good game against them, 2 touchdowns. I don't know. Anyways, we don't have to worry too much about that. Pollard's a start, CD's a start. I don't really want to start any of the other receivers.
No.
Ferguson to me is a start.
I think he's kind of an easy start at this point.
Yeah.
You're going to be super excited about starting him, but I don't see why just got to temper your expectations. The guy's involved. He's getting a lot of targets. Yeah. You know what? Something that I'm pretty sure I heard this about Dak is like, he's got like a ridiculous amount of red zone.
He leads the NFL.
Yeah.
Wait, you talking about Dak or Ferguson?
Dak. But I know a lot of those are going to Ferguson. That's kind of where I was going with it.
Yeah, Ferguson leads the NFL in receivers, tight ends, anyone in red zone targets.
Yeah.
So it's been like that since like week 1, essentially.
Yeah. You got to fire him up.
Yeah. Again, like 7 targets in 3 of his 4 games. Like he's out there 60% of the time, which you'd want more, but that's fine. And yeah, Dak, for whatever reason, they don't want to feature CeeDee Lamb. Like they don't want to throw CeeDee Lamb 15 targets. They want to spread it out. So I think Ferguson's kind of a must start unless you have one of the top like 5-6 guys. And then Pollard, we said, is a start. And then the 49ers, I think you're just starting everyone, right? Like,
yep. Just like the Miami Dolphins. Like, you just start all those guys and you hope your guy is one of the ones that goes off.
Yeah. Unless it's Purdy we're talking about. Like, I'd probably still lean in this matchup, like Goff, Love, Stroud, maybe over Purdy. Like, just because of the Cowboys are a legit defense. So,
yeah.
So I think that's it for this video, and we'll be back with another video going over 4 more games. So as always, leave your comments of specific whatever you want, start, sit, trades, whatever, and we'll catch you guys